Hi everybody, Laura here for Waffle Flower Crafts. I'm so glad that you're joining me today. I've got a fun project to share with you featuring this cutie patootie Hey Girl stamp set with coordinating dies by Waffle Flower Crafts. So here's this stamp set, Hey Girl. It's got this hilariously adorable sloth on it. And I'm going to stamp it. I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink onto a panel of Nina Solar White cardstock. Here is the coordinating die for that sloth. Now what I'm going to do is a little bit of partial die cutting. I want to die cut everything that is above and beneath the branch. So I want that branch to stay intact. So here I am. I put in my cutting plate halfway. I just slide in the top part of the head or the hat on the sloth. And that's just going to die cut that top part. Then I'm going to put it in again. Put my cutting plate in halfway. I slide this in until it's going to cut everything that is below the branch. This is what I call partial die cutting. Or you could also call it selective die cutting. I'm sure you could come up with a lot of fancy schmancy names. Basically, it gives you a little more mileage for your die cuts. You know, maybe you don't want to die cut everything. There's some really fun techniques that you could probably invent and create and do. Now what I'm doing is taking an oval. This is an infinity oval die from Hero Arts, and I want to create a little window where the sloth is kind of dangling within that window. So what I'm doing here, same thing. I'm partially die cutting the top part of the oval, everything that is above the branch. I'll flip it around, and I'm going to die cut everything that is below the branch. And then this is really cool. Kind of gives you a new take, maybe a fresh new look at your dies and the things that you can do with them. I'll take that oval die off and I'll show you here. See how that's cut from the bottom and the top? You do have to do just a smidge of fussy cutting to release everything because the inside obviously was not cut. So I take my little craft knife and I cut along the bottom of that branch. It's basically a straight cut. You could use your scissors if you have some small little ones. I'm using my craft knife. And then this bottom part will pop out like so. And then along the top is a little bit more involved because there's the branch and his hat. So I found it was easier for me to use my scissors. Sometimes I have a hard time, I don't know, cutting round images and such with my craft knife. I'm not very savvy with the old craft knife. But anyway, there it is. Everything's popped out. And I couldn't resist. There's a cutie patootie balloon in that Hey Girl stamp set. So I had to stamp that as well. Anytime there's a balloon in a stamp set, I'm all about the balloon. And sometimes I do 3 because one's not enough. I mean, but this time I stopped at 1 and I wanted to keep it simple. So I'm moving on to some very, speaking of simple, Copic coloring. I sped this up because I do color quite slowly, but there's some marker caps there. I went E42, E43, E44. I'm not too adventurous with my Copic coloring. Generally, I keep my numbers. I do have that hex chart. You know, if you haven't ever seen, Sandy Allnock made a hex chart, which is invaluable for Copics. It lets you see all the colors and how they relate to one another. But generally speaking, I keep my numbers close, like B21, B24, B26. I find, for me, it's effortless that way when I keep the numbers close. I don't have to work too hard to get a seamless blend, and I don't want to go over and over my image too much. You ever find if you overcolor, it will bleed outside the lines? Yes. I don't want to have that. I hate that when that happens. And if that does ever happen to you, you got to use a white gel pen, touch up outside the lines. But anyway, the less you go over it, the less chance of bleeding. That's why I keep my numbers. Like, for example, the balloon. R21, R22, R24, R27. See how I am? Very conservative. You know how some people, they do these extreme colors and they blend them together? That's amazing to me. Just amazing. So now I'm stamping a sentiment. Hey girl. I don't know why, it just cracks me up, the look on that sloth's face and thinking that he's saying, hey girl, makes me chuckle. For the background, I've got some plaid, gorgeous plaid pattern paper. This is Lawn Fawn. I believe this is from a Christmas collection, but I just love the green plaid behind the sloth. And I'll pop up my little partial die-cutted window. You could also turn this into a shaker, put some sequins behind it. That would be cute too. I just left it an open window. I also added a coordinating sentiment underneath there. I embossed it. It's from the Congrats stamp set. So it says, "Hey girl, you did it." Make sure you check out waffleflower.com, their Facebook and Instagram, for fabulous inspiration. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.